country boy. I get up before the rooster, put on my camo, load up my bow and my rifle and stock the ammo. I'm a bullet with the bullet, but I'm lethal with the arrow. Always down for the hunt, dove turkey and big bucks. Hit the woods and get fitted up. Mossy Oak all across my fit, don't be surprised, we do this too. I be up before the sun with my 30 at 6. Hard body on, I ain't worried about the kick. Yeah, we do this too.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of We Do This Too Outdoors podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Williamson. I've got a super special guest on today, Mr. Lathan Buckley. I found him on Instagram through a mutual friend of mine. Shout out to the Dreaded Archer. And this man is doing big things in the outdoor world. As an African-American male like myself, I am honored to have him on today, man. How you doing, man? Introduce yourself.
Man, appreciate it. What's going on, everybody? It's Lathan Buckley here, outdoor media creator, photography, wildlife photography, videography, archer. Pretty much anything to do with the outdoors is up my alleyway. But we got to take a second for that intro, man. got me going. I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. My shout out to Breezy, my cousin Aubrey Bell, man. We have been rocking since we was old enough to talk, walk, whatever, man. He is a beast in this music game, man. I wish he would go ahead and move to Atlanta and DJ drama or somebody sign this dude, man, because he's talented. He makes his own beats. He rhymes. I mean, he's a beast. And I came to him with the idea, man. I said, hey, man, I need an intro for my, my podcast and my page and stuff. Man, he came up with this in like 2 days, and we actually recorded the entire song. Like, he's got pretty much the first verse, and then I tried to write me a little something in there. So I'm in there at the end. So I had to send you the music, man. But it turned out all right.
Yeah, I liked it.
I get a lot of compliments on it. So I need to kind of redo the intro, because if the part where it says 30-06, I got a Savage 22. I forgot my rifle at the house that day, but
hey, it ain't nothing if you don't forget something. That's how I say it.
Man. I was like, man, we're gonna make it happen. And then I was like, man, I forgot my dang rifle. So all I had in my side by side at the time was a little 22 rifle I always keep with me. So it is what it is.
Yeah, that's funny. Hey, turned out great, man. I'm glad to be on the show. It takes collabing with guys like you and that are not just talking about it, but doing it. And so it's an honor to be on a podcast like this, man. And can't thank it enough, man.
Yes, sir, man. So let's get off into it, man. How did you get introduced to the outdoors, man?
I told Trey this, but growing up, I spent a lot of summers with my grandparents, and, they lived in a real small town in the middle of nowhere in Kansas. I was born in Junction City, Kansas, and, northwestern Kansas is this little town called Smith Center. A whole bunch of cowboys and rednecks out there. And, like the tumbleweed town, I say, like, and, I just grew up in that kind of environment, and I saw my uncle. I remember the one time he took me hunting. We went deer hunting, and that, like, I didn't kill nothing, but it was one of those experiences that I'll never forget. And growing up as well, I had a best friend, Caleb, and his dad Kent is a outdoor freak, man. He loves the outdoors, and I'm super blessed for that man to share the experiences that I shared with him. I went on pheasant hunts and, upland bird hunting. And, when I was 13 years old, and, I'd always shoot squirrels in the backyard. We'd make skewer guns and all types of little bow and arrow weapons, whatever that is, and just get out there. And so it really started with the influence, man, being around the guys that, they just did it because they loved it. And, sharing those experiences. I can't remember how many times we'd go hunting or fishing, and all that they cared about was, if my lure snapped off, they'd tie a new one on. Or, if we were out hunting, they would do the scouting and put me on the deer and really teach me how to hunt. And so that was really a big inspiration for me. getting started in the game. And I, that's why I'm here. I honestly contribute that to that. So
That's
it all
what's up.
all started in a small tumbleweed town.
I hear you, man. Like we said off camera earlier, man.
Yeah.
Like, feel like me and you could be brothers, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Growing up in, small towns. I grew up in a real small town here in Kentucky. Like I said, 300 people, couple black families, and they were both, all of them were related to me, in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And tobacco farm, man. I learned the value of hard work at a young age, and the thing that me and my dad used to do a lot was we used to fish and we used to go rabbit hunting. That was his two things, man. And I played baseball, basketball growing up, and didn't get to play a lot football because my mom was scared to death I was gonna get hurt like my dad did. So
sounds like my mom.
yeah, it was just one of them things I wanted to play, but that was kind of our thing with me, my Uncle Kenny, and my dad. They instilled that hunting in me at a young age. And once I got to college, man, like, it was kind of a culture shock. I think I've talked about this before, but it was a culture shock because in the town that I grew up in and the county, man, there's not a lot of us that actually, hunt here.
Yeah.
There's a few that I can name off, but there's not a lot. And then I watched Kentucky Afield a lot growing up, which is the longest running outdoor show I think ever right now. And nobody on there looked like me. So I was
Man.
always very curious to why that was.
Yeah.
And I used to always ask my dad, like, hey, Dad, how come nobody like me or you for that matter? My dad was real light skinned, like real bright guy. And, he was a little lighter. Well, he was about your complexion,
Gotcha. And I got the light. I got the lights on me. I got the lights on me.
I got the lights.
I'm scared.
But yeah, man, it was one of them things. And Dad was
Yeah.
like, well, we're out there. We just don't get the notoriety that we should. And once I got to college, man, it was a culture shock because I had never seen that many black people in one place.
Yeah.
So I kind of hid who I was. I was trying to be somebody I wasn't. But
Man.
my true friends, man, they were all from, Chicago, Memphis, all these different cities. And I was only country boy. They knew I was country from, my twang. I dipped, it was like, bro, we know that you're country. Like, what do you do on the weekends when you go home when it's cold? I said, man, I hunt. They're like, you hunt? I was like, yeah. And they was like, man, we figured your country ass to be doing something out there,
Yeah.
So once I told them, man, they accepted me. They still was my boys. But I figured, I figured they would be, would shun me because I'm a black man. I'm a hunter. I'm a fisherman. I'm a farmer. So, but they accepted me.
I think that's a good entry into the next topic. I think we need to do, and we are by doing this, but if regardless of the color of your skin, be yourself. And that's a lesson that I had to learn too. Growing up in a small town, my best friends were pretty much rednecks, and
mine too, man.
And it was a great, kind of experience to, because I otherwise wouldn't, probably be where I am today. But being yourself, because I hid it for so long, like so long. I mean, my close friends, like you said, they knew, like, man, Lathan gets down. Like we would grew up on the Kansas River. Man, we would go dig in the trash and get recycled pallets and make tree stands. And we didn't even know who owned the ground. We just, we just running around. We didn't even have any weapons or nothing. We just sit there and watch deer and study deer and fish and all types of stuff. And when I got to college, it was kind of like like, oh crap, you kind of got to be someone that you're not, and you don't have to be, but that's kind of where my close friends, my roommate Cole Daniels, we used to fish and get after it on the weekends and really get after it. And I'd meet a lot of people, and I'd be like, yeah, well, what are you doing this weekend? Well, I'm going fishing and camping. Like, they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, like that's what I'm gonna drive my Chrysler 300 with some 20-inch rims on it, straight pipe down to the river, and we gonna camp. Like that's that's how it was. And it was a great, you know, kind of culture shock. And then when I really got out of school, you know, I realized like, you know, the party promoting, you know, the cool. I mean, they were really good videos. Don't get me wrong, like they were professionally done. But you know, that wasn't me. And you know, I prefer to spend my time, you know, in the woods and or on the river or doing stuff like this. And so when I got out of college, I had this camera for, I was telling Trey this, I had this camera for about 2 years and I didn't do nothing with it, but I knew what I wanted to do with it. And it was just formulating a game plan. Excuse me. It was formulating a game plan and getting after it. So when I got out of school and, you know, I was put into an environment where, you know, we lived out in Lone Jack, Missouri, where it was just very, you know, we lived on 500 acres and had some pigs and chickens and guardian dogs. And, you know, it was such a great environment to be in because, you know, a lot of young adults, you know, they move to the big cities, metropolitan communities where, you know, there's the drinking is very prevalent, the nightlife is very prevalent. Man, the only things that I heard at night were coyotes and crickets. You
Yeah, yeah,
know, like,
yeah.
and it was great. You know, I really found myself at that point because I felt like I was kind of, and I feel like a lot of young adults, maybe, and even older people go through it of just like finding yourself and
Yeah.
staying true to yourself, regardless of the environment that you're around. And my football coach in high school, he'd always tell us we're like tea bags, you know, tea being us and the hot water being diversity. And you can see the true colors and flavors of people when they get put in an uncomfortable situation.
I like
And
that.
that really stuck with me for, you know, this whole time. I mean, I graduated high school in 2019. And he told me that in like 2017. And it really stuck with me all the way through. And it still sticks with me to this day. And so, you know, when I get faced with you know, some diversity, you know, I get flustered, and that's something that I'm working on being you know, a better person in term of just, you know, not everything's going to go the way. Like today, I knew I had the podcast, and I've been wanting to update my webcam to use my Sony A6300 as the webcam.
Right.
Well, you know, I've been messing with it, getting everything set up, and then, you know, got off work and went to go set it up, and nothing happened. And I'm like, crap, you know, we got this show coming up. And so I ended up going to Radio Shack and having to make an audible and end up spending a little bit more money. But I got um, a converter from the camera to the laptop. So, you know, I was flustered, but I was like, you know, come on, we stay in the game, and we'll get taken care of. And now we're here. So
That's
it's
right, man.
promoting diversity in the outdoors, but also, you know, promoting, you know, young men that can be great and live up to those potentials, to be themselves, and you know, regardless of what everybody else says or what you think that they're going to say about you, let them say it. You know, as long as you go to sleep at night and you're not thinking about it and tossing and turning, you'll be all right.
That's right. Yeah, that's great, man. I know my grandmother, she had a saying, you know, they hated on Jesus.
They
What
did.
you think they're gonna do to you?
Yeah.
And it took me a while to kind of realize that, you know, growing up. But, you know, Jesus was a perfect man. You know, he walked
Yeah.
this earth for 33 years, and, you know, they hung him up. And people's gonna talk about you, people's gonna slander your name.
Yeah.
As my grandfather used to say, it ain't what you get called, it's what you answer to.
Yeah.
And you know, I live by that, man.
Yeah.
And
I
you know,
like that.
I tell people now, man, you know, especially like your age, because I'm quite a bit older than you. Not quite a bit, but I'm almost 40.
I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna
Push-
call you Unc.
That's fine. I've been called Unc, OG. I've been called it all the past few weeks, man. But I try to tell them all, man, you know, stay true to yourself, man. No matter what, you know, people
Yeah.
say about you or
Yeah.
whatever, you know, stay true to you, man.
And
Because
when
at the
they're,
end of the day,
yeah, man,
you know,
that's right.
that's all you got, man.
And when people are talking about you, that's how you know you're doing something good. And
That's right.
that's, you know, I've learned that, you know, even I just moved up here to Bozeman, Montana, and you know, we moved halfway across the country into a new environment. and you really get to see, your willpower and your mindset to be great, and moving out here, I think was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made, because it put me in a position where, I don't have anybody around me that, is judging me and having a preconceived notion of what I should be or what I shouldn't be. And being out here, man, it's just like I'm a free spirit. I can really focus in on the things that I love to do, because at the end of the day, nobody knows me here. I mean, besides now, people are starting to know me. Like,
Right.
who's this big black guy that's doing all this outdoor stuff?
Right.
But it's been a great adjustment, dude. And I could, from my page, you can really see like the progression of each individual post. From, you could tell when I was living in Missouri
Mm-hmm.
to now, and because I got into a place of opportunity, and sometimes you got to be uncomfortable to really get in that place. So it's been a great adjustment, and learning. It's been a big learning a factor. But dude, it's been probably the biggest advancement I've made personally, and professionally, to commit to myself and commit to this future, because I'm a big person of shit or get off the pot. If you're not going to take it serious, don't waste your time. Don't waste other people's time. Just commit to it, and you will be successful, whatever that is. You may fail, you may get knocked down, but who gives a crap, man. Let's stay grinding, regardless of what other people think. But
That's right.
it's been good, man. I've really enjoyed it, and I've met a lot of amazing people that I only wish back then, like, I would have had the opportunity to meet, but I get to meet them now. It's been huge inspiration for me.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. Yeah, when I started my brand, man, I kind of reached out to some people that I feel real close to, and that I kind of confide in. I said, "Hey, man, I'm
Yeah.
thinking about starting up an outdoor brand called We Do This Too Outdoors." And they were like, "Okay, explain it to me." I said, "Okay, so here it goes." I said, as an African American male growing up, there wasn't a lot of people that looked like me, and still on TV when I'm watching, the Michael Waddell's, the T-Bones, the Nick Muntz, the Dr. Ducks of the world, Buck Commander, Willie Robertson and all them guys. Like, I still don't see a lot of us on TV.
Yeah.
I said, my goal is to basically show that people of color, whether black, white, black, Mexican,
Yeah.
Hispanic, whatever, somebody of color, Jamaican, Haitian, whatever, that we are out here too. And
Yeah.
we're trying to make a difference. We're trying to bridge some of these gaps. We're trying to break down some of these barriers and stereotypes that they have out against us, because everywhere I've ever went, man, when I tell somebody I hunt, they're like, I didn't know black people did that type of thing. And I'm like, yeah, we do this
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my main goal, man, is to show that. And I wish some of these big name corporations, whether it be, Masio, Sitka, Realtree, some of these big name, companies, Yeti and all them, would kind of portray us a little bit more. Because I mean, when you get on their websites or some of the commercials, like, you still don't
Yeah.
see us.
No, and I think, kind of to piggyback off that, and have a really diverse background in marketing and data analytics. I'm a real estate, pretty much data analyst,
That's what's
and
up.
manager. I directed the Big Sky Country MLS, and so it's a lot of, I feel like, when it comes to our influence in the outdoors, we have to look at it, not only from a color standpoint, but an education standpoint. And for me, I've had really, I've had maybe one negative experience, being a black outdoorsman, and that was in a Bass Pro in Texas. Like, I was trying to buy a 30-06 or something. We were going on a hunt or whatever, and I was asking the guy about him, and he took the gun off the shelf, and he said, before he had the gun in his hand like this, and he went to go hand it to me, and then pulled it back. He said, "I know you can't even afford this gun."
Ooh.
I said, I can't afford this gun. You working right now, boy. You know, like I took that I took that and I was just like, all right, man, you know, like if that's what you if that's what you think, man, and you know, I'll take my business elsewhere.
Absolutely.
And you know, that was one experience that I really felt like that was probably the worst experience I've had. And I said this on Trey's podcast that I felt like the outdoors community, you know, not only does it bring us together, but also I feel like it's been one of the more welcoming communities in my experience. You know, getting up here, I'm in like the outdoor industry capital. My Bozeman, Montana, Onyx is here, Stone
Right.
Glacier, Sitka, you know, all these big brands are here. And, you know, I really think that, you know, with the education side of things, I'm like I said, I'm very involved in marketing and analytics. And, you know, I've gotten 3 sponsors, Synthief, Nimrod Archery, Tulu Broadheads, and, you know, plan to expand more with that. But the big thing with that is, you know, approaching these people and, you know, having a game plan and an educated game plan or a thought out game plan. You know,
Right.
what do I have to offer you and what do you have to offer me?
Right.
And I think a lot of, you know, guys like us, if we just gave a shit a little bit more and spent a little more time just studying and learning, because every business has a problem, every single one. We could be that solution, but we have to come to them with the solution. And
Yes.
so I think with that, you know, kind of mindset, it's put me in a lot of positions to grow. And I try to put on my guys about it, you know, just like having a game plan, you know, studying your data analytics. You know, I only got 2,800 followers on Instagram, but I'm reaching 30,000 people per month, you know, because that's the studying and the understanding of the algorithm and getting out there. And so I think a lot of us, if even just anybody, not even Black outdoorsmen, you know, if we just studied the analytics and the marketing and the techniques that these companies are using to match their brand image, I think you would see a lot more of us on the outdoor channel and a lot more of us on, you know, commercials and stuff. But that's why we're here. You know, we're going to be on the outdoor channel, you know, here in the next year. Next year's, I'd say, you know, both of us are going to be on there. And, you know, you got to get a game plan. For me, I felt like with meeting a lot of the guys in the industry now, the biggest thing that they say is just be different, be
Right.
yourself,
Be
be
yourself.
creative, be
Mhm.
creative. And a lot of the guys, you know, I see trying to do exactly what we're doing. You know, it's just basic, you know, and that's fine. Like if you want it, you know, just to be a thing for yourself, but if you really want to scale a business to, you know, 24/7 guys, you know, it's not just hunting, it's apparel, it's meet and greets, it's a lifestyle, and they
Yeah.
market and brand themselves, you
The
know.
music, the culture. Yeah. The
Exactly.
Jews.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so a lot of that I think is going to be huge for us, and I think that they do an amazing job at what they do, and bringing that light to the African American community in the outdoor industry. But I think that we'll see a lot more of us when we just care a little bit more and we put ourselves out there. And you know, I uh, talked to some guy that's pretty high up in the outdoor industry, and he was telling me that before they even hire somebody else, you know, on the team or whatever that may be, they go through their Instagram followers, they go through, you know, their feeds, they see what they've been posting. You can't just be an outdoorsman on Saturday and Sunday when it's easy. You got to be, you
Right.
know, you got to be an
You gotta live it.
outdoorsman. Exactly. And so a lot of guys, they get that miscued, I should say, of not understanding that, you know, these brands want to work with guys that are committed, not
Right.
that just do it part-time. You know, it's just
Right.
like if you go to your job and you're a full-time employee, but you're working part-time, tell me how long you're gonna last there.
Not long, man.
Not long at all. So I think a big thing for me, and you know, challenging a lot of other guys in the industry, black, white, green, yellow, purple, you know, setting the tone and educating, you know, our young African Americans that you can do it. You know, it's just going to take a lot of, you know, if you want to make it, you could still do the outdoor stuff and not even put a single camera to it. And those are probably the most happiest people in the world. But, you know, making it a career is my goal. And, you know, I wake up every single day thinking, how am I going to get better today? And so I think that's what's going to have to take for us to be more prevalent in the outdoor industry. It's a multi-factor thing. I feel like, but there's just not a lot of us, you know.
Yeah.
There's not.
Yeah. Speaking of the 24/7 guys, man, I've been to their annual dove hunt that they have every year twice, and I actually just had Daryl on a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I seen that. That's dope.
But me, man, when I first met these guys, they were kind of an inspiration. Well, they were a big inspiration to me because I just happened to be, you know, on the rabbit hole one day on YouTube, and I was like, man, who are these black dudes that duck hunt? So I kind of got to, you know, looking at them, and I probably watched every video that they had. Then I got on Apple Music and, you know, downloaded all their albums. And I told my wife, I said, I've got to meet these guys. So she got me a ticket to 2 years ago to go. And first one I met was Easy.
Yeah.
And man, I still reach out to him every day. You know, I've had him on. Great dude. Renard's a great dude. Ricky, that's my guy. Warren Miller, I call him Unc. Aubrey, all them guys, man. And just what they're doing for the culture, man. Not just outdoors, but, you know, the whole music, the whole music industry. You know, they've got, you know, that duck. When you see that duck, like, you know,
you know, it's
like,
brand imaging is so important. And thinking about, you know, that was a very thought through process.
Absolutely.
You know, and I guarantee they got with market professionals, branding professionals. I mean, they had to, you know,
absolutely,
because they had such a great idea. But sometimes, you know, like we said, putting our guys on, and, you know, you can't grow a multi-million-dollar business by yourself. You know, it's going to take it's going to take a team, and it's going to take a group of people that are educated and understand what the assignment is. And I feel like, you know, with them, they do probably one of the best jobs that I've really seen in branding in the African American industry or African American outdoor industry. At that, they do an amazing job, and they do. I mean, they inspire, and I know a lot of people. The last podcast with Trey, some people got their feathers ruffled when I said, I was like, stop looking up to or stop watching NBA YoungBoy and watch Don Dudley. And, you know, I felt like for me, you know, it all comes down to influence. Growing up, I was taught to idolize no man but God.
That's
and the media and all these young, you know, white, black, whatever younger generation kids are looking up to these artists that promote drug, sex, and violence. That is not a role model that you should be looking up to, you know. And I had a guy DM me about it, and he was pretty, you know, pretty pressed about it. And you could still listen to whatever you want. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you know, the person that you look up to is the person that you will become.
right.
And, you know, I think that's a huge part with the African American community too, is we're very entertainment industry focused. Artists, dancers, professional athletes. We're very physical, you know, minded people, whether that be chains, jewelry, nice cars, you know, all those things. And these rappers, exactly. And these rappers promote that. And so the younger generation's like, oh man, I want to be like that. I got to sell drugs. I got to go murder my own brothers and sisters. That's what it is. We're murdering our own brothers and sisters, but then we want to point the fingers at other people. Take accountability for yourself. And that's what it comes down to. And a lot of people won't say that. And I'm not afraid to say that, because we need to take accountability. You know, we're killing each other, and then we're going on, you know, riots and strikes, and we're pissed off that, you know, all these other things happen, and there is corruption, and there's corruption in the world, and, you know, we got to fix that. It's not going to get changed overnight, but what we can change is put the gun down and pick up a book. My stepdad, he'd always say, if you want to hide anything from a black man, you put it in a book. And that right there,
That's deep.
That's deep. And he has his own podcast, Street Therapy Podcast. He grew up in the inner city and adds a whole new perspective to it. And it's such a sensitive topic, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it because obviously it is a sensitive topic. But I think it's important that we do bring light to those situations. And my comment of don't watch NBA YoungBoy and watch John Dudley is a focal point switch from idolizing somebody that promotes drug, sex, and violence to somebody that promotes harvesting your own meat and taking that animal and learning consistency, passion, and discipline. That's what it takes to be a hunter, And
Right.
so a lot of people got upset about that, and I'm not mad that they got upset. But I think it's important that we understand why these things are happening and what we can do to change. We're always focused on what the other person is doing to make change, but we as an African American community have to promote change within ourselves. And I think that comes with stop idolizing these rappers. And it's hard because these media companies promote it to us more than anything, you know?
They got the machine behind them, man.
Yep. This thing, is a great tool, but it also is a weapon. And, it can
mass destruction.
It is. And I think that is such a big topic that, a lot of guys don't talk about. And that also leads in with getting in the outdoor industry. I think for me personally, I wanted to be in the outdoor industry. I wanted, obviously it took a lot of people to help me and assist me and learn, but it was because I wanted to learn. And I think that's what's going to have to take a lot of our brothers and sisters to get in the outdoor industry is to put our mindset and switch it to this is just going to come to me. No, I have to go out and get it, and I have to go out and learn and be a 1%er or be whatever I want to become, and being committed to learning it. Because just like you said, you went down the rabbit hole and look where that got you right now.
Right.
So
right.
it's such a idealistic mindset of understanding why all these things are happening. As a Black community, I think I've been racially profiled from both sides. But I felt like I got told, man, Black people aren't country. You're not country, from more Black people than I heard from white people, and
it comes from your own people sometimes, man. And that's mostly where I've got most of my flack from, to be honest with you.
And
when I tell them, what I do and my brand, check out my podcast, check out my pages, check out my YouTube. So, oh, here you go doing that white boy shit again, stuff like that. I'm like, what?
Yeah. And it's like, because I wanted hunting for me. I mean, I like to hunt by myself, but I love hunting with a brother, or like hunting and enjoying that friendship. It's making bonds that last forever. And I went to an HBCU for a summer semester, and
where'd you go?
I got Lincoln University.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I will say the experience wasn't the greatest, but I felt like I had been more racially profiled at a in a community that I should feel more welcomed than I had say when I went to the University of Missouri. I know there was some racial BS that happened. I don't judge a man till I meet him and I develop my own opinion. Right. But I had felt like I had been more racially profiled and discriminated because of my outdoor, my love for the outdoors. I remember I wore blue jeans, cowboy boots, and a Cabela's Mock hoodie to school one time. Never forget it, with the real tree hat. I walked in that door, boy, and this was it was a small school too, and and a lot of the African Americans were just like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, you can't dress like that, and I'm like, dude, like, I'm just being myself. This is what I love to do. It's not, I think the big thing is they equate country folks to racist folks. Like, if you're a redneck,
absolutely.
You're like, that's it. Like, if you're a redneck, you're racist, and that's what they think. And that's far from the truth. I've been more welcomed by some rednecks wearing a Trump hoodie, Trump hat, everything, and I remember, I'll never forget this. This guy came up to me and I was talking with him, and because Trump came here to Bozeman, and he was full Trump get up, old white man, dude, probably coughing up dust. And we had started talking about political views, and I won't get into on podcast, but I told him, I asked him, I was like, how's the rally and everything, and we started talking about it, and he was telling me, he was like, well, there was like black people there was Asian people there, and now I'm talking to you and you're talking about hunting. And he really was like, from a guy that age, because it was been programmed in his mind, I bet, for years, to sit there and have a 2-hour conversation with some random black dude, all over because we shared the love for the outdoors. I know he's probably said some things that I probably don't want to know, he said, but we sat there and talked, and we got so deep about it, and he literally said, I've never met a black guy as passionate as the outdoors as you are. And I know with the outdoor industry and what that could bring to me, I just cracked his bubble. I could tell he didn't feel comfortable, and I asked him, I was like, what deer rifle you shooting this year? What'd you shoot last year? And I was like, 150-inch deer, all this kind of stuff. And he kind of just like looked at me like, and so it was such an amazing experience to really see it firsthand, how the outdoor industry can bring, groups of people together, regardless of skin color, ethnicity, religion, whatever that may be. And, and so I think if the African-American community, and can kind of maybe have a growth mindset, and we could do a great job of promoting this, as not all country people are racist. I'm sure there's city folks that are racist. There's country folks that are racist. There's whatever. There's always going to be race and hate in the world, because the devil is prevalent, and that's just how it's going to be. But we could break barriers and stop the stereotypical idea. Same, it goes both ways. White people need to stop thinking about how black people can't be country and can't be hunting, and black people need to stop thinking about how country folks are racist, And so I think if you're a good man and you have good values, regardless of your skin color, you'll connect with whatever color that may be. I've hung out with Saudi Arabians, Indians, Chinese, all types of folk. And, if you're a good person, people will gravitate to that. So I definitely think there's a little bit correlation in there. And I think that that's something that, we as outdoor guys and people in the industry, that we should leverage our platform like we're doing now to promote this idea that regardless of your skin color, you could be a hunter, man. You could be a hunter, you could be a fisher, be yourself. I've seen guys, they got the grills in that are fly fishing. It's like that's great. Be yourself. You don't need to go wear, Sitka, QU, and First Light and all these companies to be an outdoorsman. The outdoorsman mindset is in here and in here.
Absolutely.
So
well, I got kind of a funny story, man. It's the second year I ever went to the NWTF convention in Nashville, and me and my wife make it a thing to go every year. But this is the second year I went. I don't think my wife was with me. I think my buddy Clay was with me, but we were standing in line to get our wristbands, and there was these two guys. They were from Texas. One of them had his big cowboy hat on and had a big jacket on that said Texas on the back, and the other guy had a cowboy hat on, had his big belt buckle on, and he kind of looked back at me and kind of gave me kind of like the side eye. I'm like, what's this dude looking at me like that for? Well, I hear him talking to his buddy, and he was kind of like, I heard him say, he's like, what's he doing in here? So I made it right. So I made it a point to go up to him and was like, hey man, what's up? And he's like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And I was like, "I'm doing good." He said, "So where are you from?" I was like, "I'm from Kentucky, South Central Kentucky, about an hour south of Louisville, you know." And we got to talking, man. And the more I talked about, the more we started talking about hunting, fishing, just the outdoors in general. He was like, "Man, you know what you're talking about. Like, how long have you
Yeah.
been doing this?" I said, "Man, I've been doing this since I was 5 years old." And long story short, man, to this day, me and him are great buddies. Like, I can call
Yeah.
him right now and he'll
Yeah.
pick up the phone. And
Yeah.
he's been trying to get me to come down there for a hog hunt, but it's just like
Hey, let's do
one
it.
of those, right? That's one
Come
of those
on.
things, man. Like, he was judging a book by its cover.
Yep.
I was probably one of the only people of color in that whole place. There wasn't a lot of us
Yep.
in there, and he was just kind of like the way he explained it to me was the way that he was raised.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's exactly where it's if you plant the seed, in unfertile ground, it won't grow.
right.
And I think I was even talking about this, like our education system. Why in the hell do we still promote and teach slavery? Like, honestly. And because I was thinking about this, I was like, what is telling a fifth grader or fourth grader that, the black kid that sits next to you in class 200 years ago would have been working your daddy's farm? What
Hmm.
does that promote? It promotes that divide. And I think
Hmm.
that is the biggest thing that is hurting the United States right now, is because that divide. We're teaching generations on generations on generations that, African Americans were not equal to humans. Same with women,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
and
1/5 of a
I I,
human.
I and I don't really see the point of that. I know it's history. We teach everything else. You know, we don't talk about how, the settlers pushed all these Native American tribes out, and what their living conditions are now. We don't teach that. I drove through an Indian reservation a couple weeks ago, and I about cried because it was such a sad thing to see that these natives that were here before, long before us, we're living in below poverty, and in communities stricken with drugs and violence, and all these things. We don't teach about that, and we don't teach about all the things that, I've been seeing, all the Native American children that are just that go missing. And same thing with the African American community and minorities. Nobody overturns that stone. And I think with teaching that at such a young age, it implements a segregation. And I like it's a very prevalent, like, hey, he is not equal to you, you're above him. and
Hmm.
and and, and the kids, like they're kids. You could say whatever you want to them, and they may interpret that so different than, as a mature mindset would think. So education system is terrible. I think we all know that. But teaching things that implement segregation is where we really need to start. I don't think that that's a great topic to be teaching young kids. I know probably me, with the millions of African Americans that had to sit in class, and when they talk about slavery, they kind of get one of those, like, like a little
Hmm.
side eye.
Yeah.
All those kids in those classes, I remember that,
Yeah.
and
Well,
so yeah,
I'm a big history buff, man. That's what
me
I went to
too.
school for, and I'm gonna agree to disagree with you right here.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I think we do need to teach that,
Okay.
simply because, do you know what our ancestors went through when they came on those boats, came over here? You know, we
Yeah.
got, some of them jumped off those boats. Some of them
Yeah.
died on those boats. And when they got
Yeah.
over here, these people were forced to pick cotton. They were forced to pick tobacco. They were forced to pick that. And then once
Yeah.
once that ended, they tried to make a life for themselves, and
Yeah.
then the Klan ran them off, or they burned their house down, stuff like
Yeah.
that. I feel like that needs to be taught simply to show what our ancestors went through.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree right there.
yeah.
But they don't teach that. They don't teach those sides. They don't teach the pre and the post. They
Yeah, they
only
don't teach
teach
the pre and the post. They only teach the slavery. Yeah, that's why I said
exactly.
I'm gonna agree to disagree with you
Yeah,
right
if they
there. Yeah.
taught everything, and that's with all types of topics in history. I'm the same way. I'm very, I spend my time watching mountain climbing documentaries, Utsi the Iceman. Like I dive
Oh
really
yeah,
deep.
yeah.
I dive really deep into these things. And, if you're going to tell the story, tell the
Tell the
whole
whole
story.
story. Exactly. And that's
You
that's
know,
what happened with us, man.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
my grandmother, she was a history professor at Kentucky State. And I think she taught at Fisk for a little bit in Nashville, which is it's HBCU as well.
yeah,
And everybody knows about Martin Luther King, everybody knows about Malcolm X, everybody knows about Rosa Parks. But who
yeah,
knows about Booker T. Washington? Who knows
yeah.
about Marcus Garvey? Who knows about, these people?
Frederick
So
Douglass.
Frederick Douglass, they know these people were taught to me by my grandmother because
Yeah,
in school they only taught about Martin Luther King, maybe
yeah,
Malcolm X, definitely Rosa Parks.
yeah,
So you had to kind of do your own research as African Americans because they
yeah,
don't tell you the whole story.
yeah, yeah,
And like I vote simply because back in the day we couldn't. And
yeah.
some of the people that died, trying to give us
Fight for
this
that.
right,
Yeah.
we're
Yep.
fighting for it. So
Yep.
it's just those little small things, like I said, that I think they do need to teach, but
Yeah.
I'm with
I
you.
agree,
They need
man.
to tell the whole story and
Yeah.
not tell just a little portion of it, So
They're not gonna put
I
that in a
I
they're
agree
not
with
gonna
you
put
there.
that in a book, man. They're not gonna put
Yeah.
it in a book, and they're not gonna teach, all these young generations what really happened to, I think it's funny when, and I kind of learned to, with a Republican Party and the Democratic Party, I'm one of those guys. I agree with, some things on either side. And the company or the country teaches divide. You got to
Yep.
pick one. You got to pick one or the other. You
Yep.
know, yeah, you could be an independent or whatever that whatever. But like at the end of the day, you got to pick a side. And I think that is such a huge divide in the country, because I bet if a lot of us, if we just sat down and had an open-minded conversation, our values would probably match up. Some things obviously will be different. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion,
Yep.
but it comes down to the education system, people wanting to learn, passing it on, history, teaching what really happened, not teaching what they want us to know happened.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a huge part of it. And I couldn't agree with you there more. If you're going to tell a story, tell the whole
The whole thing.
story. History is history. And,
Mhm.
I think that needs to be taught. And I mean, they teach it in HBCUs.
Yeah, they do.
But who goes to HBCUs? you
Right.
know?
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
a big HBCU guy,
Yeah.
which I still am, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but I
Yeah.
always wanted to go to Grambling.
Yeah.
That was like my dream school in Louisiana, Grambling,
Yeah.
Louisiana. But you know, it just so happened that, my dad was just like, that's a long way off.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, Dad. And he said, I want to go down here. And it just didn't work out. But I ended up going to
Mhm.
Western Kentucky University. Go
Yeah.
Tops.
Yeah.
But man, it was one of those things where I wanted to experience that simply because of where I grew up.
Yeah.
I wanted to be around more people that look like me
Yep.
to tell my problems and the things that I were going through to
Yeah.
somebody that looked like me and was experiencing
Yeah.
some of those things that I experienced growing up, whether you grew up
Yeah.
in the city, the country, or
Yeah.
whatever. And
I had
I
to.
hate
Yeah.
talking politics with people, man. But
Yeah. For
people
sure.
ask me, "He's like, what are you, a Democrat, a Republican?" I said, "Here's what I can tell you: I'm a conservative liberal."
Yeah.
And it just blows their mind. It's just, oh,
Yeah.
you can't go on both
Yeah.
sides. You can't.
Gotta
You got to
pick.
pick. Like, no,
Yep.
I don't. It's
No.
America, Jack. This is,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the land of the free, home of the brave, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
you don't have
And
to pick.
yeah. It's
We
just
can
it's
still be
just
friends.
exactly.
Whether whichever side you're on, we can still be friends. I hate
Exactly.
talking politics with people,
Yeah.
man.
It just creates a separation. That's all it
Yeah.
does. people get upset, people argue. I'm one of those people, I'm a human. If someone disagrees with me, I'm just like, very argumentative person. Ask my mom. Because she's the same way. But I think this country does a really good job of promoting segregation, not only blacks and whites, but Democratic and Republican, all types of things that they want us to be separate. And we're one nation under God. It doesn't. We don't say we're two separate nations, two parties under God.
Democrat, Republican under
Yeah,
God.
yeah. No, we're one nation under
nation.
God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but man, yeah, it's one of those things that we could go down the wormhole with that stuff, and I think it's super important that our brothers and sisters really understand that we can promote the change. We don't have to depend on somebody else to. And
Right.
I'm a huge believer of that. I hate when people make excuses, whether, and I know, I was very blessed to, I didn't grow up in the best home, per se. Like, we moved around a lot. I was raised by a single mom, working her ass off to provide, and so we didn't grow up in a family of wealth. But she always made sure that I had clothes on my back and food in my belly. And so
That's right.
if she would have had the mindset of, she wasn't given the silver spoon, she did her best to set me up to be the person I am today. And I think that all communities, black, white, green, yellow, you're not deserved anything. You have to get out and get it, and it sucks that it's hard. It's going to be uncomfortable. Some nights you're probably not going to sleep. The grind is the grind. And regardless of your background, I think that one thing you can control is your attitude and your effort. If you want to be an outdoorsman, influencer, or outdoorsman, working on a corporate structure, or just the basic guy that posts his deer every year, he gets a deer. You can control your attitude and your effort. So waking up with the mentality of, the world has all I have to offer. I just have to go out and get it, and it's not going to be given to me. That's the mindset that I think a lot of us are going to have to switch. I've had to switch that. Oh crap, I didn't get to grow up with I don't know my biological father, and it honestly really growing up didn't really affect me, to be honest. Because I always felt like I had men around me that I looked up to, but it was not only probably about like a year ago that I really sat down, and it really bothered me. I was like, dang, because I see the bond that, a lot of my friends have with their dads, and, they go out hunting and they go out fishing, they go out camping, and then I'm kind of like, damn, I wish I had that experience. But there's millions of people just like me. I can't be a sad sob story about it. I got to go out and get it, and then maybe I can
keep grinding.
Exactly. Maybe I can inspire some kid just like me. So yeah, I think the outdoor industry is one of those things that if we just stay committed and stay grinding and focused, just like the 24/7 guys, we could be just as successful as we want to be.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, man. I'm glad I got you on, man. This has been an awesome conversation, man. Like I said, we could definitely be brothers, and like I said, we can go down this wormhole all day long. But
yeah.
So what's next for Mr. Lathan Buckley, man? What's next for you?
So got a lot of things in the pipeline. Going down to San Antonio for a hunt is going to be one of those things that I'm really putting myself out there to grow and make a sacrifice. I'm going on it solo. I've linked up with the guy down there that was like, hey, I love what you're doing. I'm gonna give you the opportunity to do that and grow. So I got a pretty cool hunt coming up. I'm gonna be vlogging the whole experience, from packing to what it's like going through the airport, that whole process. Because
That's
I don't
awesome.
see a lot of guys that make videos of I didn't know how to travel with a bow, and all these things. So that's kind of what's going on. And then I'll be dropping a podcast very similar to this. I've always felt like I've been blessed with the networking capabilities to meet people, and develop a connection with them. So I figured one of the big things, and I know a lot of people do podcasts, but to complete the networking circle,
Mhm.
the initial, like, hey, what's up, man? My name's Lathan Buckley. I do outdoor content. I'm very unique. I like what I do. I also dabble in wildlife photography. Like, here, follow me on Instagram. That's usually where 99% of the connections meet or end.
Mhm.
And then maybe, a percent will fall through and actually, DM me and be like, hey, let's go fish or let's go hunt.
Mhm.
So the podcast, I think, will be a good way to connect the circle, expand the network, just like you are as well, and prioritizing, just getting myself out there and learning the industry and learning how I can end up on the outdoor channel, and then how I can bring other people on the outdoor channel. And I think that starts with developing a personal brand in the outdoor industry of guys like you and me that we're a community. If one of us makes it, if I get on the outdoor channel, I'm gonna call you and be like, hey, let's get
Right.
out there,
Yeah.
like, let's go on that hog hunt. I film hunts and
Right.
I do videography. I'll never forget, one of young thug said, he's like, I didn't got big for recording my life through a drone. He's like, he told the girl to stay behind me. I'm in my zone,
Right. Right.
and that right there, like, he obviously, he's not the best influence, but a lot of these artists are poets. If you
Mhm.
take the music video and the social aspect, even the beat, if you just take that stuff off and you just listen to what they're saying, you know,
Mhm.
a good poet, not just somebody that's just off for Percocet and just talking into a microphone. Somebody that's really, sitting down and writing and, kind of that aspect. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm doing the same thing that I've been doing. I'm just putting a camera to it.
Right.
So got a lot of good
Yeah.
stuff coming on. Is there anything that, you got going on in the future that you're excited for?
I got a lot, man. But to piggyback off what you said about the rappers being poets, man. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but I'm a big fan of Big Crit out of Mississippi
Mm,
because he has basically got kind of the same story I've got without the outdoor industry. He grew
yeah.
up playing baseball. He grew up in a small town. He grew up, with the racism and everything like that.
Yeah.
And when you take the music out of, when you take the beat out and just listen to this man, just rhyme, man, it's poetic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's one of my favorite rappers, man. I'd love to get him on here just to talk about and that, just anything. So Big
Yeah.
Crit, if you are out there and listening to this, somebody let Crit know. Mr.
Yeah.
Justin Scott is his legal name. Big
Yeah.
Crit, hit me up. But I'm really excited, man, just for duck season. Over the past 3 years, man, I have become a very avid duck hunter.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love deer hunting. Like, I'm just waiting on that cold front to hit up here
Yeah.
because I'm not a big fan of snakes, so I try to stay out of the woods.
I hate snakes.
Yeah, so I try to stay out. We got copperheads, rattlers, cottonmouths. We got everything here in Kentucky,
Yeah.
man. So I try to stay out. But one of the big, most exciting things that I'm looking forward to is hunting with my cousin Kenny. Me and him have been. He's a year younger than me, and me and his dad, my uncle Kenny. He's Kenny Jr. and my uncle Kenny's Kenny Senior.
Yeah.
They're both pastors. But growing up, like, he got to hunt a little more than I did because I played sports. So usually during
Yeah.
the summers, and I was playing ball, and then I'd go straight into basketball. It was just a never-ending cycle. So he got to hunt a lot more than I did with his dad. So now, man, we've got me, him, and then our buddy Josh. We call ourselves the Wrecking Crew. I don't know if anybody's taken that name yet in the outdoor industry, but if they do, we'll change it. I don't want anybody to sue me over that or whatever. But
everybody trying to sue everybody, bro. That's
right.
You can't
So
do nothing without trying to get sued.
So I'm just really excited to hunt with him, man. You know, we're older. You know, we had a few setbacks when we was kids, man. But you know, we're old and adults now, and you know, we squashed that little beef that we had, man, and we've become like brothers. And I'm really excited to hunt with him this year. And my best friend Holden.
Nice.
Follow him, Arrow Army. You need to reach out to him. He's real big in the 3D archery.
What is it? I'll shoot. I'll hit him right now.
Yeah, Arrow Army. He's got, I think it's a A. It might be 2 A's with like 2 arrows. You'll see it. His name's Holden Reed. HOLDUNREED. But he's on Instagram, he's on Facebook. You know, I'm really excited to, you know, do a couple hunts with him. You know, we've been rocking together since kindergarten when he moved from Louisville to our little small town, man. He taught me how to cuss and everything.
What was his last name?
Reed, R-E-E-D.
Reed.
Yeah.
Holden Reed.
Yep. His business, his brand is called Arrow Army. And he's a big 3D archer. I think he's number 5 in the state of Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken, and known 40. He's got a lot of videos on YouTube right now. Like he stays grinding. I love him to death.
Okay,
he's actually the one that kind of got me into like tech
this one here.
Yep, that's him. Yep,
awesome.
That's it. Yeah, he got me into technology because like back then, man, I'm old school, man.
Yeah,
you know, I like the old caddies, you know, the old school caprices, stuff like that, man. He's like a new tech guy. So he's like, man,
he's driving
do this, you got
Cybertruck.
Yeah, he wants a Tesla. He wants a Tesla truck. And I was like, bro, you're stupid. But I, you know, he's like, dude, if you're gonna do this podcast thing, you know, you got to get a good mic. You got to make sure your audio quality is right. Like he's a perfectionist, and
that's the
he's really doing it. I'm proud of him. I'm super proud of him.
That's awesome that you got, you know, somebody like that to really, you know, sometimes it's not always what you want to hear, you know, because like me with starting the podcast, I've been wanting to do one for years. And, you know, if I don't have something 100% planned out, or, you know, if it's not the best quality that I can produce, I'm not going to do it. Because the guys that, you know, you can look at the statistics and the analytics on it, the guys that are doing pretty well, you know, you got to invest, invest some money into your setup. You know, I created an LLC for my outdoor company. And so when I go buy a new camera, I go buy a new microphone, I go buy any equipment.
Yep.
You know,
tax write-off.
and so it's still do it, work with what you got. You know, and I'll say that to everybody. The best phone or best camera that you have is the one that's always with you. And some old man told me that when I was at the camera store, because I was like, I wanted this brand new A7 III camera, and I wanted all these setups, and it was like 4 bands. And I literally looked at him. I'm like, he ragged me up. I should have known, because there wasn't even no price tag on it. You know, I didn't even think that stuff was expensive like that. And
it's stupid expensive.
He starts scanning it, and I'm like, boop, boop, boop. And I was like, I kind of like look on my phone. I like look down, and I like look back up, and it's like $4,000. And I'm like, hey, this ain't gonna work out. You know, I'm in college. Like I got like $1,000 in my bank account, dude. Like I can't. You know, and then I finally met a veteran on Facebook Marketplace. Shout out Facebook Marketplace.
Facts.
Shout out Facebook Marketplace. But I met this veteran that, you know, dude hooked me up with a camera, lenses, SD cards, everything for like $500. And it was just like one of those things that I may only had $1,000, but I invested that $500 in myself, and I still got that camera to this day. That's the camera that's right in front of me right now. And, you know, so you're going to have to, like, you know, like he said, bro, you're just going to have to, sometimes you're going to have to get a good mic. You have to spend a little money. don't go out to eat on Friday, Saturday, and
Yep.
and save up and get that nice mic. It's
Save the bread.
discipline. Yeah.
Yep. Discipline, man. Heck yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you. Like I said, man, it's been an honor to get to interview you and sit here and talk to you, man. Yeah, I mean, you're young, you're younger than me, man, but you have a lot of wisdom. I mean, you can tell you
Appreciate
was
that.
raised right.
Shout out moms.
Yeah, shout out to your mom, man. I ain't never met her, but hey,
Yeah,
mama, you did a good job.
And my stepdad, I think
And
a lot of
your step pops. Yeah.
he did a good job of, at the time, man, we did not get along. But he really taught me how to, suck it up and be a man sometimes. And, so it's shout out to him too. I think a lot of stepdads and I know a lot of amazing stepdads that did more than their biological, counterparts to the child, and they step up and be a man. So shout out to all those, single parents, step parents that, are making an impact in their life, even though it's not your kid. So
Absolutely,
yeah,
man.
it's great to have me on the show, brother. I appreciate it. Hopefully it's not the last time.
Oh, definitely not, man. We're gonna have to get together. Like I told Trey, man, we're gonna have to get you and a couple other people or whoever wants to go. We gotta get a hunt together somewhere.
Hey, that's one thing that I didn't get to touch on. I'm tired of people talking about it. Let's do it.
Hey, I told you I just started a new job last year. I gotta wait and see how my vacation days is looking, man. But I'm
let's
down.
do it.
Promise, man.
Hey, next week, let's get a call with me, you, Trey, some other guys. Let's hop on here. Let's get something planned for next year.
I'm down.
I know the guy that I'm going hunting with down in Texas. I told him, I was like, dude, like I really want to look to establish a relationship with guys, all across the country. And every year, I want to go on at least 4 out-of-state hunts a year. And I know that's sometimes not feasible for a lot of people, but I prioritize my time. I work my ass off. I work 12 hours a week or 12 hours a day sometimes. But at the end of the day, I'm able to do what I love to do. And so
Right.
let's not talk about it. Let's be about it. Let's get a hog trip planned. Let's bring our bows and I'll bring the cameras, and we can, I already got a few sponsors. Shout out to Tulu Broadheads, and this is their gear here. Scent Thief, my boys back in Kansas. Nimrod Archery for supplying me with some arrows, and all the companies that invested in me. But I don't know if you're shooting any broadheads this year, but
Yep, G5s.
G5. Hey, the G5s are great. I love the G5s. Take a look at these Tulu broadheads. Next season, I've really loved how they've flown for me. A lot of guys say it's kind of
wicked.
Yeah, dude. It's
kind of like the old school, like the Native American kind of look to it, man, a little bit.
I'll say this about broadheads, and then we can get done with the show, but I'm all about renewable, reusable. When I found myself, I've shot a lot of mechanical broadheads. After those mechanical broadheads are done, what do you do with them? Probably end up going in the trash. Exactly. And one thing I really love about these Tulu broadheads, and what really sold me on their marketing technique, is I had seen Trevor Tulu. He shot a cinder block with this thing, and it punched through the cinder block, and then he spun it on an arrow spinner, and it was still in line. And he takes that same broadhead or a very similar broadhead, and then just runs it through the sharpener, and it's sharp again. So it's one of those things that, as outdoor guys, we're also conservationists, and, we need to do a better job of picking up after ourselves in the outdoors. I've moving to Montana. I've seen a lot of trash in the woods. And, I remember literally yesterday, I was pulling out of our condo, and this big old like trash bag was like blowing. And here in Montana, dude, we get like 60-mile-an-hour winds out of nowhere. Like it's just wild. But it wasn't no 60 mile an hour. It was like 15, and this bag was flying, and this guy was walking his dog. and he just let the bag blow right by him.
Wow.
And I'm not gonna say what outdoor brand he had on his shirt, but I knew he was an outdoorsman, and he let that bag of trash blow right past him. And I was just like, holy crap.
Wow. Yeah.
But hey, I got out, grabbed it, no skin off my back. But as the outdoor industry and community, we need to do a better job of, if we see it, pick it up, even if it's not yours. So,
right. Heck yeah, man. But yeah, like I said, man, I'm honored for you to be on the show. Like I said, we got to get something planned for next year, man.
Hey, let's. I'm free. Let me see what next week. Let's get on a call and get something planned out and just and brainstorm and think, and so we can put that out there for the future and get after it.
Let's do it, man.
Awesome, bro.
Heck yeah, man. This podcast will air on Mondays. Well, my podcast airs on Mondays on Apple, Spotify, my YouTube page, Google, basically wherever you get your podcast. Shout out to Sportsman's Empire. That's my network of podcasts. Blackburn Apparel Company, man. If you're looking for any type of apparel, they make some super dope apparel. Their hats are top notch. Their shirts are top notch. If you're looking for trail cameras, Moultrie trail cameras, they got out the Edge 2 right now. I've had 2 of them in the woods right now, in places that I normally do not get service, and they're beasts. You need to check them out. If you guys are looking for bowstrings, Threads bowstrings, they're here in Kentucky. They make a top-notch bowstring. So check out Threads bowstrings with a Z. Vision Clothing, my buddy LaRod Whipple from Louisville, Kentucky, man. He's grinding. He's making a lot of clothes. He's not in the outdoor industry, but some of his clothes are super nice, for the culture. So shout out to LaRod and Vision Clothing. If you're looking for broadheads, G5. I'll be personally shooting the mega meets this year.
Great
broadhead.
Montex.
Yeah. Followed up by the Montex. I'm probably going to shoot both of those this year. If you're looking for something to kind of help you out in the woods, especially during the rut, Deer Pimp Scents. This guy's right down the road from me. He owns his own deer farm. He's got this thing called the Mac Daddy. It's like a diffuser. He sends you fresh doe urine. You put this thing in the diffuser, and it diffuses doe urine out there during the rut. He's got multiple pictures on his website. So if you want to check out deerpimpandscents.com, the guy's name's Wes Brewer. He's a great guy. He will hook you up. Bluebird Waterfowl Company. Shout out to them, man. They make a great product for movement in your decoys. So you definitely need to check them out. And last but not least, Ullr's Archery, ULLR''S. I always mispronounce it, man. They make a top-notch product. They've made me some broadhead, or they made me some arrows. They made me some fletchings, some vanes. They're great people to work with. And right now, I'm in the works talking to Angry Chicken Outdoors. So if you're in need, if you're in Kentucky, Hillview, Kentucky, and you're in need of some guns, some ammo, some archery equipment, man, you need to check them out. Angry Chicken Outdoors, man. If I left anybody out, I'm sorry. Like I said,
take it out of his paycheck.
Yeah, just take it out, man. These are a lot of companies that I'm working with. I'm not necessarily sponsored by these guys, but these guys, have sent me stuff and trying to help me out. So I really appreciate everybody that's sent me stuff and trying to help me out with this, man. So God bless everybody. God bless you, Lathan.
You as well, brother.
Big game, small game, all game. We do this too.
Yes, sir.